All right, Nick, let's talk about the New Orleans Saints all offseason. We've been closely following the battle for the backup quarterback, the backup to Derek Carr. Who's going to take the reins? There's a lot of guys that are either on the team already, free agents that are brought in, draft picks that have been selected. And now we're starting to narrow it down to see who's going to be the backup and potential future of this New Orleans Saints quarterback room. Let's get into the article and we talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, from Outkick.com says quarterback Jake Haener, the Saints' 2023 fourth-round pick, and Spencer Rattler, a fifth-round pick from this year, will battle to back up Derek Carr, a spot vacated when Jameis Winston signed with the Cleveland Browns in March. Dennis Allen said that thing is going to battle out all throughout training camp, Saints coach Dennis Allen said. The Saints took an unusual approach to building their quarterback room this year by selecting Rattler just 1 year after taking Haener with a mid-round pick. The team also selected to bring in Nathan Peterman during free agency. Again, from Outkick.com. Nick, I think this is an interesting strategy. I think it's nice that we're finally getting to see it narrowed down. I think Haener, Rattler, that is going to be the battle for the future of the Saints quarterback room. I'm curious what your thoughts on this one are. But before we get to you, Saints fans, in the comments section below, let's talk about the newest member of this backup quarterback battle. Talk about Spencer Rattler, the rookie for this year, fifth round pick. So I want to know in the comments below, who is your favorite fifth round pick in Saints history? Interesting one. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're down there, check the description below the video. See our list of recommended NFL reading. Great book you could pick up for a summer vacation. Go through it. Autobiographies of some great coaches. Books that break down the game of football and books that break down the history of the game of football. So check those out in the description below the video. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this backup quarterback battle for the Saints?
Look, I think it's important to understand that the fact that the Saints coaches, Dennis Allen, have come out and said, listen, it's going to be a battle. There's no clear number two guy. There's no clear number three guy at this point. It's going to be a battle all through training camp. I think he's setting the standard saying, listen, there's not one guy who's the front runner. We're not giving one guy front runner status, right? It is going to be a mano-a-mano matchup between Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener to who's going to be the number two quarterback. And look, we all know the situation with New Orleans. If you talk about who's the number two quarterback, young guy going forward, that's likely the future of the franchise. Talking about the quarterback position for the Saints. So we're talking about a battle this training camp between Spencer Rattler and Jake Haener for who is going to likely be the front runner to be the franchise quarterback of the future for the New Orleans Saints. And look, there's been a lot of talk of Spencer Rattler doing a lot of good things. We've covered it a lot. But Jake Haener has actually had a pretty solid offseason just as well, right? He hasn't been, as flashy and as shiny as maybe a Rattler has been as he's overcome some early hurdles. But Haener's done a solid job. And Haener, he came out of college with some positive aspects too. So I really like the fact that the Saints are keeping this an open battle, keeping this a direct competition. They're avoiding what I call the shiny toy fallacy, right? They don't have the new shiny object. They don't have the Spencer Rattler like, oh my gosh, it's new. We want to throw him in there. He's going to just get the number two job. We're going to throw him in there, give him every opportunity to succeed. And the old guy from last year, we're just going to completely dismiss him. You want to avoid that, right? Because that can get you in a situation where the best player sometimes doesn't win the position. You always want to avoid that. You want to be a meritocracy, obviously. The other fallacy would have been just to give Jake Haener, because he's the veteran, the automatic number two job for the exact opposite. To say, listen, oh, he's the vet. Because he's the vet, he's more experienced, he should get the number two job. Again, that's also a problem because you're not building things on a meritocracy, right? You're saying, listen, he's a vet, he gets the number two position. Saints, smart decision here. They're saying, listen, it's an open competition. Two young guys, both with different strengths, both with some weaknesses. Whoever wins this position will be the number two quarterback, which means in today's day and age, the NFL, right? You really only have two quarterbacks. The third guy's an emergency guy that you plan with every single game. So you've got a guy who's going to be the number two quarterback this year, playing number two all season long, and likely the front runner to be the future franchise quarterback. I love the fact that the Saints are making this direct battle between these two young guys. And look, competition always brings the best out. I think we're going to see at the end of training camp and at the end of preseason between Haener or Rattler. My money's personally on Rattler, but we can wait and see. We will see the future of New Orleans by the time the regular season comes around.
Yeah, Nick, and it's a really interesting competition because if you look at both guys, they both bring a lot to the table. You look at Jake Haener, as you alluded to, he's the veteran. He's a guy who's been in the system. He's a guy who really, comes from that Fresno State background like Derek Carr. There's probably some chemistry there because of that. They've been together. He's learning from Carr. He knows how to play this offense probably a little bit like Derek Carr. But on the flip side of things, like you said, the new toy, the shiny guy to come in, Spencer Rattler, we know he's a little bit bigger. He's an inch taller. He's about 20 pounds heavier. He's a guy who comes in and he has all the physical tools. Coming out of college, he comes from an SEC school. He's played against a lot of SEC teams. Tougher competition coming out of school than Jake Haener would have faced at Fresno State. So I think there's a lot of interesting caveats here. Does the physical tools from Rattler, can he put it all together, learn the offense, be that field general that we need him to be? Jake Haener, a guy who should be more familiar with the offense, already has that potential field general status. Can he flash some of his physical tools to show that he's got the stuff to play against the highest competition, which is something that we have seen from Rattler in the past? So I think there's two sides of each guy. Each guy's really the polar opposite of the other one, and the things that they have proven already. So I think it's going to be interesting to see this battle through training camp, see how things develop. And I'm really excited to see, but I am with you here. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Rattler. I think he's a guy who's very interesting, but I think Haener might surprise a few people.
And there's one more interesting tidbit just to kind of conclude here is that Dennis Allen actually said this as well on top of his other comments. He said, talking about the NFL and this competition, he said, I think you find out here that the windows close a little faster than they do in college, right? He's making a statement both to Haener and Rattler saying, listen, this is your time. This is your opportunity. This is your window to put yourself in a position to be the franchise quarterback of the future. You've got the month of July, you've got the month of August, you've got the first week in September. The best man's going to be the number 2 guy, and he's going to be our future franchise guy whenever they decide to, in all likelihood, at some point, move off of Derek Carr. He is setting the sense of urgency. He's setting the standard, saying this is the battle for the future. Haener versus Rattler. May the best man win. I think it's a great strategy by Dennis Allen, and it'll be incredibly exciting to see how it all shakes out.